that this bombing makes further negotiation more or less likely? Because you're calling for more negotiation. Do you think that this makes it more likely that the Iranians go back to the negotiating table?
I would say more likely, because I think the Iranians have fundamentally miscalculated. Yeah, I think they've totally miscalculated.
America's bombed Iran. America's just unleashed one of the biggest military interventions on Iran that we've seen. And you think that's going to make them think, oh, actually, let's sit around the table with these fellas?
Welcome back, everyone. It's not often I'm impressed with LBC, but I quite enjoyed today's episode. Lewis Goodall did a damn well good job harassing and exposing the hypocrisy of Secretary of State for Business and Trade Jonathon Reynalds and the UK government. I'm quite shocked because logic would tell me that someone at this position would at the very least have a basic understanding on how to conduct business and trade with other people and countries. Jonathon clearly does not have the skill. Let's take a look.
Because you're saying that it was a good idea to do this. You support it, right? So as recently as the early hours of this morning, the line from the British government was there should be de-escalation. President Trump didn't listen to that, and now the Prime Minister says he supports what the President has done. That's the opposite of what you were saying, and you're still calling for de-escalation, despite the fact that you say you support it. I don't understand what the British government's position is here.
The British government's position is that we support the prevention of the Iranian regime obtaining a nuclear weapon. We wanted that done through a diplomatic, peaceful means. That has not proved possible. And now with that nuclear capability diminished, removed, if that is the case, we'll obviously have to see that verified.
But why would they
very much?
So let's imagine a situation in which intelligence said that actually the threat had not been fully degraded. Therefore, given, as you say, the diplomatic avenue appears to have disappeared, you would support further attacks then?
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate on scenarios, Lewis. It's irresponsible, it's not helpful, nor is that the question before us today. I'm telling you, we do not want to see the Iranian regime obtain a nuclear weapon. We proposed a means to prevent that from happening. The Iranians themselves are not willing to be a part of that. That has resulted in the action that we've seen last night. And I think what everyone should be focused on now is how we move forward from this. We end the conflict, end missile strikes on Israel, end the need for preventative action against those. Everyone has an interest in de-escalating this situation.
Jonathon trying to give us, the British people, some words of advice. He says what everyone should be focused on now is how we move forward from this, end the conflict and end the missile strikes. Do you think the British people are that stupid? What example are you setting for everyone that just because negotiations become a little difficult, that you decide to take matters in your own hand and bomb another country? This man is the Secretary of State for Trade and Business. Is that how you deal with your employees? Is that how you handle business? Be honest and tell everyone the truth, that you, Jonathon, and the British government are puppets to your masters in the West, the US, and your masters in the East, Israel.
The British government believe that this action was legal under international law?
Well, as the British Armed Forces were not involved in this action, that would be what we would be determining.
But you'll have a view about whether it's legal.
I couldn't give you a view on that without having access to the kind of information the United States would have, nor can I give you a legal opinion from the British government on the US action this morning.
Has the Attorney General, do you think that does the British government thinks it was legal for the US to drop bombs on Iran? Surely that is quite a basic question and should actually be a central part of whether or not you think this is a good idea. Surely you can't support something if you're not confident it's legal.
I cannot give you a legal opinion on the activity in the United States this morning, nor would I do so if I'd been given confidential information that I couldn't share with the public from the Attorney General.
You don't know whether something is legal, as serious as this, whether it's legal, but you are nonetheless willing to profess that you support it.
I'm telling you, I do not want to see the Iranian regime possess a nuclear weapon because of the destabilization Iran is involved in.
So when we lecture other countries for behaving illegally under international law, what is the moral authority that we have to do so when we're not even sure what the United States has done this morning is legal?
Oh, because what I'm telling you, Lewis, is coming on the programme this morning, I've been here since about 7 a.m. at the television studios. I would not have with me access to the kind of information necessary to make that determination. And you know that, and you know I'm not going to speculate on that. So you can ask, but you know I'm not going to give you an answer because I don't have the information to do so. Where we lecture other countries, if they're not obeying international law, it is based on the ability to make that clear-cut decision, whether that's through international legal bodies or our own assessment of the situation when we're able to do that.
Brilliant questions from Lewis. Hats off to him for exposing the double standards. Jonathon states when lecturing other countries is based on international bodies' BS, but more importantly, our own assessments of the situation. So what is the UK's own assessment of the situation? The answer Jonathon gave was a clear cop-out, unwilling to answer the question and clearly uncomfortable not knowing if it was even a legal attack. Tulsi Gabbard, the US Director of National Intelligence, said in front of Congress in March this year that there is zero evidence that Iran is building a nuclear weapon. I don't care if Jonathon was there 7 a.m. yesterday morning. The evidence was presented and dismissed in March, 3 months ago.
Do you think that this bombing makes further negotiation more or less likely? Because you're calling for more negotiation. Do you think that this makes it more likely that the Iranians go back to the negotiating table?
I would say more likely, because I think the Iranians have fundamentally miscalculated. Yeah, I think they've totally miscalculated.
America's bombed Iran. America's just unleashed one of the biggest military interventions on Iran that we've seen. And you think that's going to make them think, oh, actually, let's sit around the table with these fellas?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they have thought that they can destabilize countries through their proxies, whether it's Hamas or the Houthis or Hezbollah, and not have redress or consequences for themselves. They've clearly got that wrong. That's just a self-evident thing to say. And they have lost, potentially, their nuclear program as a result of that. So they have nothing to fear from negotiating if they've lost the capability to produce it themselves. But frankly, everyone has an interest in de-escalation and stability, not least the Iranian people, let alone the Iranian regime.
Do you trust what Benjamin Netanyahu says?
I think that we've got a difference of opinion with the Israeli government on, for instance, what is going on in Gaza. We are not happy with the lack of humanitarian aid into Gaza. We've had to take significant actions, whether that's restricting arms exports to Israel for any activity involved in Gaza, whether that is the sanctioning of some members of the Israeli cabinet. But I've not got any view this morning on disputing what the information has been out of Israel in relation to what's happened in Iran.
Well, it's just interesting, isn't it? Because as you say yourself, if Benjamin Netanyahu came to the UK, we probably have to arrest him. Your government would probably have to arrest him. You've sanctioned several senior members of his government, and yet you're turning around to the British people and saying, no, we do accept what this guy has said about Iran, something that, as you know, is disputed by many, many people, many, many international organisations, and which, as we know, has been Netanyahu's hobby horse for 2 decades. You think we should trust him on what he says about Iran?
Our information and assessment of the threat from Iran does not come from anybody in Israel. It comes from our own intelligence services, our own foreign ministry,
so our
own security services who have to deal with the threat.
Our intelligence assessment agrees with Netanyahu's assessment then that they were on the threshold, the imminent cusp of obtaining a nuclear weapon. Is that right?
We absolutely are of the view that any cover story from Iran that this was about civil nuclear power bears no bearing to the level of enriched uranium, and that there is a clear and present threat to the region and to the United Kingdom of Israel, of Iran possessing a nuclear weapon.
But Netanyahu says they were on the cusp of so doing, and I'm asking you whether the British government agrees with that specifically.
I don't have information that I can give you a view on that.
This man clearly does not have any people skills, and nor does he understand how to manage people or relationships. He thinks by bombing another country and destroying their infrastructure, that's going to encourage them to come back and renegotiate. According to Trump's statement this morning, they destroyed all 3 sites. Why would Iran come and negotiate when there's nothing left to negotiate? This guy doesn't have a clue and clearly just another puppet. Anyway guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Support me by liking and subscribing. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.